In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to actually automate anything. And listen, I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. I'm going to be showing you how you can actually use browser automation to automate anything that happens on your screen. Browser automation is something that's been around for a long time. So if you've ever tried to automate something which didn't have the correct APIs or the integrations with different applications like Zapier or make.com, then you're watching the perfect video because I'm going to be showing you how you can literally automate anything that actually happens on your screen by building your own bot. This will be a completely beginner-friendly tutorial. We're going to be going over what browser bots actually are, the cons and the pros of actually using something like this within your automations. And then I'm going to be showing you 2 live examples of how you can actually use these browser bots within your day-to-day life and your agency to automate different tasks. And if you don't know who I am, my name's Leo. I'm a CEO and founder of Fluxomate. We build automations for agency owners all over the world as part of our accelerator program where we set up scale-proof systems for agencies. Automations plays a massive part in everything that we do, and browser automations is one of the tools that we actually keep up our sleeve in case we need them when different things like APIs or standard integrations are not available. If you're new to the channel, you'll soon find out we don't hold anything back, so be ready to get your mind blown from a random guy on YouTube with an orange t-shirt. Let's get straight into how you can actually automate anything within your agency. All right, guys, so before I get started with anything, let's go over 3 very quick disclaimer. Firstly, what I'm about to show you in this video is just an example. There's obviously other ways to do this. This is just the one I'm talking about in this video. Secondly, don't focus too much on the specific tools I'm using. I want you to more so focus on the structure of what I'm actually saying because the tools can change. The tools will always change, right? But if you focus on the structures and the frameworks I'm actually introducing in these videos, then it'll be a lot more valuable for you. And lastly, enjoy yourself. We don't hold anything back, so be ready to get a full solution to a massive problem in your life from a random guy on YouTube. Let's get straight into it, guys. So the way I see it, there's 3 different types of automation architectures. And what I mean by that is 3 different types of ways to actually set up automations. There's things like Zapier, which are basically no-code tools. Those are probably the most popular ones. We have Zapier, make.com, which is formerly known as Integromat. There's a bunch of different options out there. Like I said, this is usually the most common one and what we use actually 90% of the time. They have a ton of different integrations available, but sometimes there's certain things you cannot do on these platforms. This is where different things like coding and no code browser automations actually come in. Now, these are obviously more complicated ways of doing it, and in an ideal world, you wouldn't use these tools, but there's some things that you just can't do, like I said earlier. So coding is an example of it. Obviously, whatever language you use doesn't really matter, but it's basically just creating some sort of code, hosting on a platform, and kind of launching it to automate different things for you. And then the last way, which is the way we're actually going to be talking about today, is using browser automation. Now, I'm going to talk about a second into how browser automation actually works and what it actually is, but let's talk about why, as a beginner anyways, you should actually do this. So there's some things you just can't set up using automation, whether they don't have the correct APIs or it's just not accessible to the public. Different things need to be employed. And it's much easier for a beginner, especially, to set up some sort of browser automation rather than going down the road of using ChatGPT to write some code for you. Because if you don't have any coding experience, it can get very complicated and hard for you to actually upkeep and maintain in the long term. So this is why I'm introducing and showing in this video how to actually use different browser automation tools to automate anything that you can't do or using Zapier or something like make.com. But before I go into showing you how to set this up and going over different examples, let's talk about what browser bots actually are. Browser automation basically involves you creating some sort of robot to access your computer and do different things like move the mouse, click different things, type on a keyboard. Obviously, it does a lot more than that, but that's kind of the general consensus. The whole aim of it is just save you time and effort, similar to automation in general. There are pros and cons that need to be considered because it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are a bit of problems that comes with these browser automation tools, which is why, in an ideal world, you wouldn't really use this. In an ideal world, you just use something like Zapier or make.com or any kind of no-code automation tool to set up your automations because they make life a lot easier for you and kind of package everything together. But there's some use cases where, especially for beginners, I would really recommend going down the road of creating different browser bots. So let's talk about the pros and cons of actually using these browser bots. Firstly, with the pros. You can automate anything that's web-based. Now, when I say web-based, I mean anything that actually happens on your computer screen. Like I said, all you're doing here is basically building a bot that's interacting with the screen like a human. So it's moving a mouse, it's clicking different things, it's entering text. So anything that happens on the web, you can actually go ahead and automate. The second kind of pro of using browser bots is that you can replicate yourself. Now, this is a similar pro to what you have with automation in general, but I thought it was worth kind of mentioning here because some things you can't automate using something like Zapier. So using browser bots actually gives you the ability to fully replicate yourself and doing different tasks. And the third benefit is that it's an easy way out. Like I've said throughout this whole videos, some things you can't automate using Zapier, and you might have to go down something like coding, for example, which is very complicated, especially if you don't have much experience in it. So using browser bots is very easy to build. They have a similar interface to no code automation tools, and it's a very easy way out of building a much more complicated solution. So that's one of the pros. But there are some cons, which is very important to actually mention to you, because like I said, this isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Firstly, they are limited to the browser context. So they go ahead and replicate anything that happens on your screen. Anything that happens on the back end, they can't go ahead and actually do. Now, it is worth mentioning that with the tools I'm about to show you today, you can also integrate something like Zapier or any no-code automation tool like Make.com, for example, within this. So, for example, you can have a step that uses the browser automation and then go ahead and send a webhook, which is basically kind of like a signal to a no-code automation platform and continue the automation on the back end. But by itself, sometimes they are limited just to browser context. The second con, which is probably the massive one, at least for me, is that there's potential for breakage. Now, what do I actually mean by that? The massive disadvantage of actually using browser bots, which is one of the reasons why I try to stay away from them, is because there's a lot of potential for changes. So let's say a website or some sort of software changes their UI, which they regularly do. They're regularly testing different things. That will mess up your browser bot, and you have to go ahead and actually set up again. Now, this isn't a problem if you just have one, but if you have 5, 10, or even 15 running simultaneously, and you constantly have to worry about them actually updating or breaking, then that can be a massive problem. This is probably the main reason why I kind of distance myself, and we at Fluxomate try to stay away from these unless it's a very last resort. Because within our program, we work with our clients for about 6 months to set up skill-proof systems. At the end of the 6 months, it's completely optional if they actually want to bring us on to actually maintain the systems and we actually build out for them. All aim of everything we do is to allow them to actually maintain it themselves. So I don't want to put them in a position where 6 months later they have to maintain the whole thing by themselves when they don't really have any skills. So I try to stay away from browser bots, but don't take this as me trying to put you off browser bots, because they can be extremely advantageous, especially for beginners when you only want to automate one major thing. There's a lot of advantages to actually using them. So now that we've gone over what browser bots actually are, the pros and cons of actually using them, I want to talk you through how to actually set this up. For this example, we're going to be using axiom.ai. Now, I don't have any affiliate links. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that. This is just probably the most popular one, and it's the one I actually use within my own agency. I'm not aware of any kind of major browser automation tools on the scale of Axiom. If they are, make sure to leave a comment and I can go ahead and check them out. It's quite cheap, to be honest. The pricing is quite competitive. Obviously, they have a bunch of different plans depending on what you actually need. The maximum I'd say is go for Axiom Pro. Anything above this, then it becomes a bit excessive. But so far, all of the partners I've used, I've just used Axiom Pro because you get enough runtime and you get also the ability to integrate with Zapier or Make.com, which will be massive because that's where you can actually integrate different types of automations together. They do also have a free trial. I think they have about 120 minutes for free, which is more than enough to kind of test out your different things and build out different examples. So feel free to check them out. Like I said, I'm not sponsored or anything like that. This is just the one that I actually use. A pro tip I'll give you though, as you actually go ahead and actually connect to them, which I'm going to show you how to actually do in a second, make sure to connect your Google Sheet. Axiom.ai does not collect any data. So it basically relies on you using a Google Sheet as kind of like backend database for the different applications or the different automations you're actually building. So it's going to be massive to actually connect to Google Sheet account because it's going to make your life a lot easier, which you'll see when we actually go ahead and build out different automations. But for now, let's go ahead and actually show you how to sign up. The first thing I'm going to do is go to axiom.ai. Now, one thing you notice is that this is not actually a software. All it is basically a Chrome extension, which don't get me wrong, it's still a software, but it's not like kind of website where you log in and everything like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to Axiom.ai and download the Chrome extension. It's 100% free. You don't even have to add your credit card or anything like that. So they have quite a competitive free trial. Once you actually go and download it, within your Google Chrome app, you'll see it right here. If you don't know how to actually bring it up to the bar, you can just go over to bookmarks and just press the little pin button right here so that it'll allow it to stay there. Then you want to go ahead and actually sign up. Once you sign up, you'll see this nice little UI. This is an example I actually have where we build out different automations, examples for YouTube, and sometimes when I test different things by myself for my clients. You'll be able to see your runtime. I've used 95 minutes of the 120 minutes, and that's after using excessive testing. So the free trial is actually quite decent. But yeah, the first thing you actually want to do is go over to Google Sheets and API key, and then go ahead and actually connect your Google Sheets account. It's as simple as just logging in, basically. Not complicated at all. Like I said, Axiom doesn't store any data, doesn't have any database or anything like that. So it basically relies on you using Google Sheet as the database for the different automations you're actually building out which is why I always recommend setting up the Google Sheet as the first thing you actually do. The UI is quite simple. We have dashboards here, the run reports where you can kind of see the different automations you actually run, any ones you're actually scheduling, like doing a pay plan for this, but you can actually also schedule different automations to run at certain times rather than manually triggering them. And obviously you have the Google Sheets and an option to change plan. There are a ton of different resources and documentation you can actually check out, but for now, this is the dashboard. So now that you have an idea of how to actually set up this automation tool or browser automation tool, I should say, I want to go through an example of a build just to show you how simple it is to kind of build out these different things. In this example, I'm going to be showing you how to actually post something on Twitter automatically, and it's going to be broken down into 2 steps. The first step is setting up the Google Sheet. Like I said, axiom.ai doesn't have any databases, so you need to kind of set up your own database on Google Sheet. And the second step is actually going to be building out the bot. So firstly, let's go over to Google Sheets and I'll show you the kind of database I built out. This is the example we're going to be using. As you can see, guys, this is nothing complicated at all. All I'm going to be using for this example is building out a bot that will automatically post different Twitter posts for me. Now, there's a ton of different ways you can actually do this and expand this in the future. So, for example, you can use this to automatically repurpose newsletters into tweets, into YouTube community posts, different things like that, even threads if you wanted to. But for this example, I'm just going to stick to Twitter just to make it as simple as possible because I just want to give you an example of how simple it is to actually set up these different complex automations. So within my Google Sheet, all I have is a tweet, and here's basically where I enter my specific tweet. So for example, let's say I want to post a tweet saying, just launched our school community, which if you haven't already heard of that, we have just launched our school community, so make sure to check that out using the first link in the description. This is the tweet we're actually posting. You can also do different things like include images, everything like that, but for now I'm just going to keep it very, very simple, just to make this as beginner friendly as possible. Once we're here, I'm going to go over and open up Axiom, which once again, this is the example I'm using for this video. You can obviously use whatever browser automation tool you actually find. I'm going to go ahead and create a new automation, and this is where it basically starts. Now, so if I go see the different steps we have a ton of different options you can actually do. It's not just moving the mouse, typing different things and clicking things. There's a bunch of different options. You can navigate to pages, you can enter text, you can wait, you can, mouse and drag, you can even solve CAPTCHA, which you do have to pay for, but still might be quite useful to overcome the robot allegations. Obviously, Google Sheet, they have a bunch of integrations with that. Also, uploading URLs, taking screenshots of pages, looping through data. I mean, there's a lot of different options we can do. But for us in this example, the first step is just going to be, we want to scroll down and we want to read data from our Google Sheet right here. All we're basically doing is we want to read the actual tweet so we can actually include it within the actual post. So first you want to go ahead and actually connect your spreadsheet. In this example, it's the Axiom AI test. And go ahead and actually choose your sheet. In this example, it's the auto sheet. Now, in this example, I'm going to choose the first cell because as you can see, the first cell is not A1. A1 would read just a tweet. So for me, the first cell will be A2 because that's where I want it to actually start reading from. Perfect. So now that's all done. That's basically the first step of this. Let's move on to the second step, which is actually navigating to Twitter. For this, I'm going to put navigate. I'm going to go to page. This now is going to go to the actual Twitter page. The easiest way to do this, if you load up X, I just realized I've been saying Twitter this whole time. It's actually X, apologies. But if you go load up X, you can see there's a bunch of different things you can actually see. And if you go to post, you can see this has a specific URL. So rather than go to Twitter and press post, I can just directly bring it to this URL, which is x.com/compose/post. So if I go back to Axiom now, or here, I just change this to this URL right here. Now it's gonna, after I actually read the data from Google Sheet, it's gonna go ahead and navigate to this step. Once we're on this step, what I'm actually going to do is open up Axiom here as well, so I can actually see it and interact with it, because now we have to select different elements for the bot to actually press. So we're going to add that step, and we're going to go to navigate and actually interact, and then we're going to click element. Now here we just basically want to click the type box. So I'll show you what I mean in a second. If you go to select, I can choose anything here. The first thing I want to do, in order for us to actually enter the data, I want to actually press on the text bar, just like that. And I'll press complete. I'll confirm it, and that's pretty much it. Now we want to add another step to actually enter the data. So I'm going to go to interact, and if I scroll down, I can see we have enter text. This is basically going to enter our tweet within the X platform. So I'm going to firstly enter our text. For this, I'm going to go to insert data, and here you can see we've got that data we just scraped from the Google Sheet. So I'll put save and close. Now you can additionally select a field, kind of miss this step, but since we've already done it, I'm just going to leave it as that. Perfect. And if you want, you can also add a delay. So for example, I could put a 30-millisecond delay to kind of slow things down and avoid it thinking I'm a bot or anything like that. And once that's done, all I have to do is add another step. And this is going to be an interaction once again. And here we just wanted to click the element to actually make the post. So I'm going to go select, and I'm just going to choose the post button right here, just like that. Now it's not working right now because it's blurred out, but if I go over here, and then I can go ahead and actually choose this post button. Perfect. Complete. Cool. So that's our bot basically done. The last thing I actually want to do before we actually test it out is for it to actually delete that post we just did within our Google Sheet, just to make sure and give me some sort of indication that the bot has actually worked. So for this, I'm going to go to spreadsheet. And if I scroll down, we can see you can delete rows from Google Sheet. And obviously go ahead and choose the same spreadsheet we used last time with the same sheet name and change it to row 2 because that's where the actual value is. So this bot is basically done. Now let's go ahead and actually test it and see if it works properly. A cool thing about these kind of different browser bots is when you run it, you can actually see it happening live. So if I put running cloud, you can see now it's going to open a new tab and do all these different steps that we actually have. So first, he's going to read the actual data from Google Sheet. Then it's going to navigate to x.com/compose/post. Then it's going to go ahead and actually click the element, which is the text element, and then it's going to go ahead and actually enter the text, which once again, as you can see, is straight from a Google Sheet. Then we're going to go ahead and press post, and that's pretty much it. And sorry, actually no, it's going to go ahead and actually delete the data from the Google Sheet. So it should complete any second now. As you can see, that's complete. So first, if you go to Google Sheet, you can see it's gone ahead and actually deleted that tweet. But most importantly, if we go back to Twitter or X, once again, sorry guys, and I'll go ahead and close this, and I go to my profile, you can see we have that post that we just created right here. Just launched our school community, the Scale Proof Agency Hub. Quite cool, guys, right? Obviously, you can obviously make the tweet a very, very much longer. You can also add different images or even post a thread if you wanted to. The possibilities are limitless. What I wanted to show you guys is that you can easily kind of manipulate this bot to do anything that you do on your computer. Now, quite obviously, this is a very, very simple example. It's quite stupid, to be honest, because I'm sure there's different tools that automatically do this already. But I want to show you just an example of how easy it is to actually set up these automations and replicate yourself on your computer using browser automation. Now, in terms of the other examples I want to talk about in this video, I'm not going to be building anything out. I'm just going to be showing you different templates that I actually have available. These are templates that you can just literally copy and paste straight into your Axiom account. And if you want access to the bot I just made or even the mind map I'm using in this video, you can check out the first link in the description to get access to the digital product for this video. Within that, you'll also be able to join our school community where you have a growing group of agency owners who are looking to set up skill-proof systems. Within that, you get community calls, one-to-one access to me to ask any questions. So if any of that sounds interesting, feel free to actually use that first link to actually join. But for now, let's go over to axiom.com and check out some of the different examples they actually have. So like I said, guys, it's very, very easy to literally replicate anything that you're actually doing within this actual bot. And this kind of shows within the Axiom website. They have a bunch of different examples of how you actually do it, accompanied with YouTube videos and different templates. So for example, in the past, I actually used this to set up a bot that automatically created customized DMs or leads and actually DM them using on Instagram. Honestly, I would have set that up again, so don't ask me, but I can record a different video going through how to do that if you'd like me to. But they have a bunch of different kind of options here. You can automate Apollos as axiom.ai, so automate adding prospects to list. You can also automate your post on Facebook. A cool thing about this is that you can actually integrate ChatGPT. So for example, if you saw in the previous automation build, we got the tweet straight from the Google Sheet. But rather than getting a tweet, you can get a prompt from the Google Sheet and then integrate ChatGPT within the automation to kind of automatically generate a tweet, which is quite cool. You obviously can automate Instagram messages, and that'll probably be a massive thing for a lot of people doing outreach. Just be careful, it will kind of run up the minutes because with Instagram, you don't want it to kind of be too quick because then they'll know your bot and then they ban your account, which you obviously don't want. But that's an option if you wanted to. You can also scrape Instagram followers from different accounts, automate posts on Instagram, automate LinkedIn collections for more leads, even automate Instagram actions, automate tweets, which I'll show you how to do today, or even make a bot that follows people on Instagram and then messages them for outreach. Guys, I'm not going to go through every single one of these one by one because I can see here, Axiom actually built out a lot of different videos and templates which you can just copy and paste straight into your account. But I hope this video is at least giving you an idea of the different things you can actually do with browser automation and how you can use it as a beginner to literally automate anything that happens on your screen. Like I said, there are some limitations. You're limited to the browser context and there's a lot of potential for breakage. So let's say in 6 months time, if there's any changes to the UI, you're going to have to rebuild your bot to make sure it actually works. But apart from that, it is quite a cool solution. to automate different things which you may have thought were impossible. This is also something you can use on school. Their API is very, very weak. And then you can probably do about 4 things on it. But using this, you can do a lot more things like DMing different people, customize messages, automatically posting things in your community, different things like that. I wouldn't advise it for it, but it is a possibility with these different browser bots. But guys, that's pretty much it from me. A bit of a shorter video today, but I did kind of want to talk about this quickly because I did get a message on Instagram kind of asking me how to do this, because I mentioned this in a video a long time ago, but I never actually made a follow-up video on it. So if you want to see more content like this, make sure to like and subscribe. We talk about how to actually set up different scale-proof systems for agencies on a weekly basis without holding anything back. So if you found this valuable and you want to see more content on how you can actually scale up your operations, then make sure to like and subscribe to see more videos like this on your feed. And secondly, guys, like I mentioned earlier, we just launched our school community. This is the growing place where we have agency owners from all over the world who are actually looking to set up scale-proof systems. Within that, you can also access every single resource I've ever released on YouTube. There's about, I think, 15 or 18 different digital products there now, with different templates, automations, mind maps, and complete breakdowns of different scale-proof systems that you can literally just copy and paste within your agency. Within there, you also get one-to-one access to myself and my different team members. So if you have any questions about anything I talked about today or in previous videos, you can just join using the first link in the description and get access to everything I just talked about. It is a free group, so if you don't like it, feel free to leave. But so far, not a single person has cancelled and churned out from the group. So I'm sure I'll see you inside. It's been a pleasure actually recording this video. Please let me know if you have any questions. Obviously, this was a bit shorter. So if you want a much more in-depth guide on how to use any of the templates that they actually talk about, or different examples of how to actually use these browser automations within agency work specifically, leave a comment below or in the school community and I'll make sure to get recorded for you guys. But apart from that, that's it from me. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.